Getting the full treatment on my car for my the 71st anniversary of Kirkland Lake. The Shabby Hughes boys here. Stony Creek.
What date did you go out? 19 what?
1940.
1940.
Well, before that.
Right on, how you doing?
That's good.
Well, in 1919 she was born on a major golden break. Those pioneers in the early years came to tame her into stake. Well, they mined her hard from the old lake shore to the Red Hargraves Grove camp. So Harry Oates and Charlie Chow and tough little Rosa Brown. Well, she's 75 and she's still alive. Everything goes.
His older brother's coming back, and all of his sisters who are living. Our children will all be here with their partners and their children, if they have any, and they do, 6 grandchildren. 3 of them live here now, but I think that that's got to be the reason it's special. It's because it's so special to my whole family who benefited from having had this school in this community.
Isabel also expressed satisfaction in helping bring back drama and the arts to the school.
I'm very satisfied with it. I thought it was a loss to the school for the few years that we didn't have it, partly because of funds. But I think that for some children who can't succeed at something else, that gives them a chance to succeed at something that they are capable of accomplishing. It means a lot to them. They have to succeed somewhere. Besides, I think that in this age in which we live, there's a lot of leisure time, and that's one way to help the young people learn how to use it in the best possible way.
As a parent, as a board member, what do you see in the future for KLCVI?
I hope I see a little increase in enrollment, and I think with the new mining interest, new exploration, perhaps we'll have an influx of people into the community, and hopefully they'll have a lot of children, and I can see KLCVI getting bigger, I hope. It can't get much smaller. We've been going down for a few years. Now we're stabilized, more or less. Maybe we'll start going up.
Beverly is the writer-director of the variety show Down Memory Lane, which will be presented Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday evening of Reunion Week at Northern College. She gives an overview of what the production is all about.
Okay, the show is based on a central idea which is carried through. We have 2 students that go into a chemistry class. One of them doesn't particularly want to have to say their chemistry equations. So they look for a place to hide, and they end up getting to this weird-looking hunk of junk, they call it. It ends up being a time travel machine. They're whisked back to the 1920s, and they start on a trip from the 1920s right through the songs and dances and happenings of the 30s and the Depression, the 40s and wartime, the 50s and rock and roll, the 60s and the hippies and the 70s and the things that happened in that era right up to the 80s again. So we get to see a lot of different dances and songs and activities. Now, they intersperse throughout that. We also have a number of acts that will be put on by adults from the community. We have people coming from Ottawa, from Sault Ste. Marie, and from Toronto that are going to be putting their talents into this show as well, by singing, by comedy that they're going to add into the production.
Come in, look out through the window. That big old moon is shining down. Tell me now, don't it remind you of a blanket on the ground? Remember back when love first found us, we'd go slipping out of town, and we'd lie beneath the moonlight on the blanket on the ground. I'll get the blanket from the bedroom, and we'll go walking once again down the river where our sweet love first began. Just because we are married don't mean we can't fool around. So let's walk out through the moonlight and lay the blanket on the ground. Oh, remember how exciting we used to get when love was young. That old moon was our best buddy. We couldn't wait for night to come. Now you know you still excite me. I know you love me like I am. Just once more I'd wish you'd love me on the blanket on the ground. I'll get the blanket from the bedroom, and we'll go walking once again to that spot down by the river where our sweet love first began. Just because we are married don't mean we can't play around. So let's walk out through the moonlight and lay the blanket on the ground. And lay the blanket on the ground.
Depth of the shaft will now have been increased on average by 4 feet. This main hoist, located at the surface, can raise the buckets at speeds up to 2,100 feet per minute. The drums of this double drum tandem hoist are actually 14 feet in diameter. The bucket is carried by a non-rotating sinking rope, 1 3/4 inches in diameter and 8,400 feet long, with a breaking strength of 60,000 pounds. When the buckets reach the surface, they are dumped, and the rock is used as fill around the mine. As the shaft advances deeper and deeper, timber sets are installed at 7-foot intervals. This shaft is timbered all the way from top to bottom. Normally, each of the timbers is pre-cut and then assembled at the bottom of the mine shaft. But to give you an idea of what goes on, these timbers have been assembled on the surface. Okay, so let's see how this timbering operation is carried out below. First, the bird cage is covered with decking so it can be used as a work platform. Hanging rods are then inserted into these existing timbers. The bird cage and platform is now lowered. Two long wall plates are lowered. They are then set in place. The bird cage is now raised and the hanging rods inserted in the wall plate. The hanging rods are now secured. The end plates and dividers are now lowered and fitted in place. By the way, these timbers and all others used in this operation are made from BC fir. Experience has proved that this is the most suitable because of its durability. In some known instances, BC fir has been located in mine shafts for over 50 years with no sign of deterioration. In fact, it may even be stronger with aging than when initially installed. The vertical timber posts are lowered. These are installed in the upright position. You can see that each timber has been pre-cut and is quickly fitted into its correct location. The hanging rods are now tightened using an impact wrench. This raises the new timbers tightly against existing timbers. Once this operation has been completed, blocks are measured and cut to fit between the newly installed timber set and the rock wall of the shaft. These blocks are tightly wedged in place to ensure that the timber set is secure and in line with the set directly above. Once this is complete, we are now ready to install the next set of timber. This shaft is advancing at the impressive average rate of 10 feet per day, an achievement which speaks highly of the construction methods employed and the hard, round-the-clock work of the skilled crew. When completed, this shaft continue gold production at an increased rate, perhaps for another 50 years.
Each year, one Board of Education in the province has the privilege of officially launching Education Week. This year, the Boards of Education in Kirkland Lake has the honor and the responsibility. People Patrons has chosen to use Education Week in Kirkland Lake and the surrounding communities as background for a look at lifelong learning in northeastern Ontario.
The theme Refining Our Gold was developed by a teacher from the Kirkland Lake area, Mrs. Kathy Royal. And Refining Our Gold refers to the economic base of Kirkland Lake, indeed, but it also, I think, brings into perspective the whole idea of children as our most precious resource. And this is what we wanted to highlight for this year.
Kirkland Lake was awarded Education Week about 4 years ago. And we began our planning at that time. We began to, first of all, try to come up with a theme that was appropriate. We then, once we had established the theme of Refining Our Gold, which has special significance for us up here, we then had to try and come up with an appropriate theme song and a logo to go with it. And so those things all really are about 2 years in the planning to get that sort of thing done.
Our board had to select some key people to be part of the organizing committee to start with. The organizing committee was selected some 3 years ago now. I've been working on this particular project for 4 years, going on 5 years soon. And so I pretty well have provided the continuation with Education Week. Some subcommittees had to be formed, and again, key people in our board came together to provide all of the necessary expertise in each and every one of these areas.
It's been kind of interesting because the organizational part of it, it was much more involved than I ever imagined it would be.
I think one of the most interesting experiences in all of this was how to market and promote Education Week.
Top of Old Smoky. All covered with snow. All covered with snow. I lost my true lover. I lost my true lover. For courting too slow. For courting too slow. For courting's a pleasure. For courting's a pleasure. And parting's a grief. And parting's a grief. And a false-hearted lover. And a false-hearted lover is worse than a thief. Is worse than a thief. For a thief will just rob you. For a thief will just rob you. And take what you have. And take what you have. But a false-hearted lover. But a false-hearted lover will lead you to the grave. Will lead you to the grave. And the grave will decay you. And the grave will decay you. And turn you to dust. And turn you to dust. Not a boy in 100. Not a boy in 100. A poor girl can trust. A poor girl can trust. For they will hug you and kiss you. They will hug you and kiss you. They'll tell you more lies. And tell you more lies. Than cross ties on a railroad. Than cross ties on a railroad. Or stars in the sky. Or stars in the sky. So come on, ye young maidens. So come on, ye young maidens. Listen to me. And listen to me. Never place your affection. Never place your affection. On a green willow tree. On a green willow tree. For the leaves wither. For the leaves they will wither. And the roots they will die. They will die. And you'll all be forsaken. And you'll all be forsaken. And never know why. And never know why. And for all the great acts that follow me, thank you.
Too much and mother, look how young I am. Father dear, please recall that at one time you were small. and I do not wipe my nose. Parents, dear, please recall that at one time you were small. Tiddly, tum-tum, tiddly, tum-tum, tiddly, tum-tum-tum-tum. With the younger generation and the future of the nation.
Particularly very interesting. The whole idea of preparing posters and preparing cassettes, music for across the province, buttons, of course. And that whole end of it, educators really don't get exposed to that much, and therefore that in itself was a learning experience for me.
Dear Uncles, I have a problem after supper. I want to go outside, but my mom always says no. Can you help me? Your friend, Jonathan.
Dear Jonathan, I think you should run around the house and drive your mother crazy. Time to go outside.
Young people of all ages provided the introductions, presentations, and entertainment at the official opening of Education Week 86, held in the auditorium of Northern College of Applied Arts and Technology, Kirkland Lake.
We wanted to showcase all the facets of education in our community, from the youngest child to the oldest child. I think most people think of education as pertaining to little children, and that's not true. And we wanted to show that in our production.
And we also had to take into account that Kirkland Lake is a big area. They're outlining schools, and that people would have to be drawn from these different schools. We also had to take into consideration that there were different languages, 2 languages, French and English, and that we had to work in both languages as well.
But this is only the beginning, a prelude to what will be happening this week throughout Ontario. Your sharing in this week's activities can help enrich the education process. Visit the school, enjoy the celebration, view the product. With all of us, students, educators, parents, friends, will be refining our goals.
It's interesting, Mildred and I had never met each other before we started working on this project, and that's probably a microcosm of the whole situation. We're from 2 boards and Northern College, a group of people who never really had to get together for a large project. It required a great deal of cooperation, a great amount of patience, endurance, but we had excellent people, and we had the support of administration, and that was such a big help to us.
You know, I think that I would have to underline is the cooperation we got from people who were perfect strangers to us. And also cooperation when people didn't have a whole view of what we were working to prepare. We would go to them and say, you have 5 minutes on stage to highlight your choir, your band, your drama production. And they would say, 5 minutes. And we would say, yes, you have 5 minutes. And they didn't see how it would fit into the whole project. And yet, they came through. Betty, at our first rehearsal, tried to time them because we felt that we might have to say to people, I'm sorry, you went over the time limit. People were so cooperative. We didn't have to do that.
Peaches and cream, like strawberry wine. You're 16, you're beautiful, and you're mine. Give me all those little curls, oh what a girl, eyes that sparkle and shine. You're 16, you're beautiful, and you're mine. You're my baby, you're my friend. You made love on the night we met. You touched my heart, you touched my heart. But when we kissed, we could not stop. You flew out of my dreams and into my heart. You're my angel divine. You're 16, you're beautiful, and you're mine. You're 16, you're beautiful, and you're mine.
Today, October 15th, 1983, is a big day here in Kirkland Lake. The Macassa Mine is celebrating its 50th anniversary of gold production. Yes, Macassa has now been producing gold continuously for the past 50 years. This is a remarkable achievement in any industry, but in mining with its ups and downs, it is even more so. Here at the Macassa mine, approximately 350 tons of ore are mined each day. But what does that mean in terms of real gold? Well, each ton of ore contains about 1/2 an ounce of gold. Let's take a look at the refining process to see how this gold is separated out. After grinding the ore, chemicals are added to produce what is known as a pregnant solution containing a gold-zinc precipitate. The gold is then filtered out by passing the precipitate through a set of filters shown here. Every 2 weeks, one filter press is taken out of service so that the gold precipitate and other solids can be removed. Here you can see a press being opened and gold precipitate removed from the filters. This operation takes approximately 1 hour. Notice the workmen use wiping cloths to ensure that all material is completely removed from the press. Normally, we expect about 300 pounds of material to be taken from the press. Once this operation has been completed, the solids are taken into the furnace room for smelting. Before placing the gold precipitate into the furnace, borax, sodium nitrate, and silica are added and mixed. The furnaces will already have been preheated for 2 hours to bring the temperature up to 2200 degrees Fahrenheit. The furnace burners are turned down while the mixture is added to each furnace. Now the furnace burner is turned up again for a period of 1 hour, and during this time the furnaces are occasionally rocked. At the end of the 1 hour period, the furnace is turned down and slag poured off. This slag will inevitably contain a small amount of gold, plus some copper and silver, so a sample is taken for analysis. This is to ensure that most of the gold has indeed been removed. Once the slag is cooled, it is stored, and at regular intervals a batch is sent to Noranda mines for further smelting, because after all, it does contain some gold, silver, and copper. A new charge is now added into the furnace on top of the remains of the first. Again, the mixture is heated in the furnace for an hour at the specified temperature. As before, slag is poured off. The gold still remains within the furnace, in molten form, of course. This liquid gold, including any remaining slag, is now poured out of the furnace. The refining process is essentially one of separating gold from the slag. Remember, since the gold is much denser and heavier, it sinks to the bottom with the slag remaining on top. Moreover, as the molten mixture cools down, the gold solidifies first, that is, at a higher temperature than the slag. For a short time, the slag remains molten, and as it is on top, it can now be poured off. Then any slag remaining is scraped off. The gold is in the bottom and is known as a gold button. This gold button is put into the furnace for further refining. All of this operation is repeated for the second furnace. Now we are ready to make gold bricks. In order to do this, a mold is now placed in front of the furnace. On this day, our 50th birthday, Mr. Peter Allen, President, Lac Minerals Limited, will do the honors and pour the gold. This is in keeping with the tradition established by Mr. Robert A. Bryce, the founder of Macassa Mines. Today there are many distinguished guests observing this gold pour. After leaving the mold, the gold brick is cleaned. You can see that it is beginning to look like the real gold we are all familiar with, at least in the movies. Each brick is stamped for identification. Holes are then drilled in two corners in order to obtain a sample for assaying so as to verify the purity of the ingot. Each brick is weighed. This one weighs about 60 pounds. The brick is then wrapped and stored. Throughout this procedure, extreme care has to be taken to save any scraps and pieces of material that may possibly contain gold. These pieces are smelted later on to remove any gold. Some of these savings are in the slag that remains when the gold bar is poured. The floor is swept and this material is saved. The filter canvas and rags used to clean the presses are thrown into the furnace and burned. All of these materials will be heated in the furnace and any gold recovered. As you have seen, the process is meticulous, as indeed it should be with such a valuable material. Skilled, experienced personnel, coupled with proven methods, are essential to the successful operation of the Macassa mine. You can see why the mine has been successful for 50 continuous years. No doubt we shall see you again in another 50 years' time.
Agreed. I have to agree with you. They come up good.
All the success in the world with it. And I'd like to thank you very much, Frank, for coming up and doing this show with us. And also thank you, of course, for being at the Prince George Hotel. And we're proud to have you there. And how about doing this one more song?
All right. This is another song that I recorded in bed.
Brent Williams.
I've got a hole in my shoe, faded blue jeans and nothing to do. I ain't got much, but I'm free and I'm happy. Got no money, but I got a few friends. Born a poor boy, I'll die the same. The rings I make remember my name. It's a simple life that I'm accustomed to, and I want to teach it to you. A simple life is what we understand. Honor thy father, honor thy mother, take care of our land. Simple life is the only way to do the best you can. It don't cost nothing to make a friend. Say howdy neighbor, won't you come on in? Pull up a chair and stay for a while. I don't have much, but we'll do it in style. Don't have no worries, ain't got no blues. Don't need somebody to tell my troubles to. It's a simple life that I'm accustomed to, and I want to teach it to you. A simple life is what we understand. Honor thy father, honor thy mother, take care of our land. Simple life is the only way, do the best you can. A simple life is what we understand. Honor thy father, honor thy mother, take care of our land. Simple life is the only way, do the best you can.